Greetings and, of course, hello to those of you who are here joining me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share with you this evening matters pertaining to the well-being of our country. Welcome to the People's Movement Show, the platform where Guyanese are at liberty to have discussions on matters that are of interest to us, where we are free as a people to be independent thinkers. We were able to, in this forum, express our convictions, express our sentiments, and to speak to that which we believe are matters that are critical, issues that are critical to us being properly governed. Here at the People's Movement, we are encouraging those of you who are Guyanese to be actively, purposefully, and boldly involved in the affairs of your country. Whatever happens to Guyana has a direct bearing on our well-being. Most importantly, it has some impact on the well-being of our children, of the future generations. We therefore should not sit back as adults to say that because it doesn't bother us, then we are going to be fine with that. Thank you, Neil. I was about to ask about the quality of the broadcast, but Neil has already informed me that the broadcast is loud and clear. Loud isn't always good, but I understand what you're speaking to, and I'm grateful for the feedback. So while you're at it, please, would you be kind enough to share this broadcast with someone, invite them, let them know that we're here, because this is a very important discussion we're about to have, in that tomorrow, being the 12th day of June, according to Gregory's calendar, we're going to be seeing the reality unfold before us. Hopefully, we don't have another 5-month episode at the hand of GCOM. But we're here to see what is going to happen to us as a people. It is therefore imperative that we have a discussion tonight, reminding ourselves as Guyanese about our reality. In advertising this broadcast, I ask that you would please call the hypocrites to the front of the class so that we can talk. I don't know many of you are aware, and I don't wait for numbers to build and wait until we get 500, 300, 200 views. It really doesn't matter to me. Those who would not catch it now would be able to see the replay, and I'm fine with that either way. But I hope that those of you who are attuned to social media for the right reason, I'm hoping that you can tell me whether you saw I don't want to say it's a re-emergence or an appearance of David Granger seeking to speak to encouraging Guyanese to vote tomorrow and to vote for APNU. Did anybody see that? I think Jen is backstage. Okay, yes. So he'll join us shortly. But did any one of you see David Granger coming forward to encourage, it's on social media, encourage Guyanese to vote? Of all the things that I found funny in this local government, which is actually centrally controlled bodies, in this build-up to this election, that must be the funniest of all things. Granger having a voice to encourage Guyanese to vote. The same man who said nothing to Guyanese on the 2nd of August when he just disappeared. He didn't even speak to those people who voted for him, not me. He didn't even address the people who were fighting for months on the roads. He didn't even say to them, I'm leaving this, I'm vacating the position because of external forces. He knows how to be diplomatic. And I'm leaving the position because of the fact that in order for there to be a better Guyana, we have to think about the whole and find something to say. Of course, it tries to make people who have much sense not understand what he's saying. But those with understanding would know that he's actually running from a position. He said nothing. While the PPP were stepping on the necks of Guyanese, they almost immediately began to victimize so many individuals. Granger sat there during COVID situation, what they call COVID, SARS-CoV-2. and saw people being mistreated and was encouraging persons to go and take what they don't want. That same man has come forward when all of Charles Rosa would have been told that those of Region 10 must go home. You cannot attend here. This is in Linden, where Region 10 is located. Linden is located in Region 10. And our nursing students were told that they cannot attend a nursing school in their own region because there are too many of them. While they were in class all along, Granger did not come to Linden to address that. But today he has a voice. I don't know what else is there for us to see, but we'll have a discussion tonight. Jenny is here. I hope that he's ready. When I hit, you are on the live with me now. So there he is. Welcome.
Sorry, brother. Sorry, our listeners and brother Nigel. I just came back from the doing some campaigning actually for our
Okay.
candidate Terence Harris. So we just arrived here. So I just I'm joining you now. So salam, namaste, and brother. I heard what you said about Granger. I wrote something about him today actually, which along the same lines what you said. That this man is a total letdown. I don't understand why we are producing people like these and why they want to put themselves up as leaders. Why did Granger not go and retire and have a good time? I mean, the man is sick. One of the other things that we don't have this level of honesty. If you are a sick person, why don't you go quiet and look after your illness? Why do you want to serve people when you were strong? You weren't serving the people. Now you get sick. You should go and retire. People don't need you. People need strong people mentally and physically to represent them. And none of these politicians are representing anybody. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the thing that's going on. Look at this cash grant. You and I are doing more work to support people and give them inspiration and so on than than these elected politicians. This cash grant, I don't know if you read what I wrote today, but it's a terrible thing. A woman called, an Indian woman called Rhonda, you must have seen her.
Mhm.
She did a little video and I had to comment on it and to correct her. I said the cash grant is a bribe. We're dealing here with an election. It's a bribe given out at this time to encourage parents to vote for the incumbent administration, the PPP. This cash grant is scheduled to have been given out between July and August.
Correct.
And a source from the Ministry of Agriculture who was very disgusted by it told me about the manner in which they were administering without absolutely no accountability, to the point where the guy from the audit department was they were pushed aside and they were directed by the PPP to actually deliver this thing at all costs.
So if we can, and we just spend a brief moment here because that's not the focus of our program. Uh, Yet again, we see or we would have seen this administration who speaks of transparency and being above the board and sticking to what is principled and so on, walking around this country, having parents go to schools and receive in their hand cash in an envelope.
Yes,
This is terrible for any audit general. I don't know what the audit general is doing here or what purpose he serves.
but the
But we know
opposition is
that in
not
reference to
seeing,
public auditing, this is dangerous.
brother. The opposition has not raised, even though you and I know that if Speaker uh, um, might not want to have a discussion in Parliament, but
Correct.
is the highest forum in our land constitutionally. And it is right and proper for these parliamentarians to put an emergency motion and call the Parliament to alert to discuss this very important matter. There were two important matters that ought to be discussed. One, the 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 the, the murder of those 20 kids that were burnt alive.
That's
Isn't
right.
that an important matter for the parliament to have a
They should have been
discussion
they should have
about?
been an emergency meeting called, if you
Exactly.
ask me.
So I put this down at the feet of Aubrey Norton and Ramjatan, Kemraj Ramjatan. None of the two of them have even attempted to call the attention of the speaker. Procedurally, they should have called the speaker to attention and say to him through the form of a emergency motion. There are procedures
Correct.
to do that within the Constitution. Let him refuse to do it because
Exactly.
every time he refuses to actually observe constitutional democratic matters, it goes against the administration. And so therefore you have to constantly put them under pressure, these type of pressure. And when they think that they will get away with it, you're building up a case for them for being a dictatorship. That's what Guyana is. It's a dictatorship. It's a country that is ruled without proper administering of the laws and order of this country. I mean, the election laws should prohibit. I even mentioned, Donald Trump was charged for using campaign funding because you're not only allowed to use certain amount of money.
Correct.
And out of that fund, he would use to bribe the prostitute, not to say that he had an affair with her.
Hmm.
Now, it's not about whether he had an affair with her or not. That's not the issue. The issue is that he used campaign funds as an expense
Right.
for personal use. And what the PPP has done here is a criminal act to use public money to give out to people at a time when there's an election and
And
nobody's saying anything about that.
right. And do you notice as well in the campaigns they aren't saying where the funds are coming from, but we
No.
saw that the people who employed the 10-day workers, as they call them, they're out building stages and assembling stages, and some people reported it for meetings in Region 6. Now, how could a worker who's employed, as they say temporarily, whatever it is, with the state or by the state, be brought out to assemble a stage for a PPP meeting?
Yes. Not only that, brother, they were forced to wear T-shirts,
We exactly be going there.
PPP T-shirts, which is
Let,
an abrogation
let
of
me
the
inform
People's
people.
Rights.
Let me
Read.
inform people. I know about Linden for sure. When Jagdir was coming here, they were told that they have to go to Freedom House. We have that one an arm in Linden to sign their contracts. When the people showed up in there, of course they're told they have to be read, and anybody with sense should know what that means, and they shouldn't do it. But they showed up because they want their jobs. There was nothing about contract being discussed there. Jagdir was hosting a public meeting, or the PPP were, in reference to local government election. That's what they're doing here.
Worse than that, I got an email from a woman at the Namstel. You know where the Namstel is, right? It's a
Yes.
predominantly African Guyanese area. She said, "Oh, only hear what she said. She said only in Guyana can this happen. That is, and be tolerated." She said, "Because my daughter has refused to join the paid gang in the Namstel, you know by now that they offered people cash and development for their businesses. They if they have to join the PPP." That's what she's saying. And she said they now want her to move off that plot of land
Wow.
because she hasn't joined the PPP to get the money for her business. She's running a restaurant, and everybody else is getting it because they joined the PPP. This morning, I tell you how bad it is. I am so upset and angry that the PPP has turned into a whorehouse. Seriously,
Say it.
it has turned into a whorehouse. And somebody like me who have worked in that party to stand aside and see what they're doing, destroying the labor of people. Because Jagan stood for the same thing Mr. Bornham stood for.
Correct.
That is why I want to remind people Jagan and Burnham formed the PPP, the People's Progressive Party.
That's
And if
right.
you read the 133 days in office, I have a copy of that manifesto. That manifesto could be used today
And still be
because
very
it's
effective in.
relevant to what we are discussing on all aspects of Guyanese life. And that is where we need to go back to. We need to go back to the original PPP, where we're talking about policies and programs that are in keeping with the welfare of the vast majority of ordinary people. You had real unity there. And talking about Granger, Granger had the opportunity because they won the vote by a majority, and they didn't use that of him and Nagamutu, did not use that opportunity to advance the cause of the people. He
Right.
did nothing,
Right.
absolutely nothing on
Well,
agriculture, on housing, on they had a commission of inquiry into the into lands heritage land for the African people. The commission report is
exactly.
there, and the recommendations are not implemented.
And the people should have been given titles to the land, as far as I'm concerned,
Exactly,
because just as Amerindian communities or Native Ghanaians have titled communities, African descendants should have the same. So Mocha,
exactly.
for example, should have been a titled community.
Exactly, because they inherit those lands. It's not like the Indians. The Indians came from India. My grandparents, and then my father, born here, had to buy land. You understand?
Right.
And some of those the lands were plantation lands that they bought from the white planters, and so on. But the Africans actually bought those lands from the slave masters
Right.
after they were the emancipation, and so
Correct.
those lands should have been titled, yes,
Exactly. Just
transported lands, because
transport. Exactly.
they are not state lands anymore.
No.
Those lands were private lands when the slave owners owned those lands. So
Right.
once they would have sold those lands, they would have not, well, they weren't state lands. They were privately owned land, so they should have been transported to each and every individual, like in the farm
Exactly.
village where I
But
just came from. It's
but
a
let's
heritage
let's
village.
let's dive into this matter that we have before us tomorrow, Brother Jenna. And I want to raise something here. You chime in the discussion, but I want to remind Guyanese who seem to be forgetting about my experience, and I'll share with you what it is, and then we'll dive into the discussion. I had just returned to Guyana in 2015, somewhere around there. But before, I would follow the affairs of this country pretty often, and I would be back and forth traveling every so often. And I remember, and you'll help me with this because I don't recall, I'm not as old as you are. But I remember for the first time, I heard something called, that was in 2013, I think, somewhere around there, an IMC. Now, that was years ago. And I said, IMC? And they said, Interim Management Committee. Now, we have a council here in Linden because Linden is a town. And I always knew before I left Guyana that we had a mayor who was, of course, elected by the councillors, but we used to have local government election. And under the PPP, for the first time, I heard about an interim management committee. I traveled to Port Kaituma to preach in 2000, maybe 14 or 13 or somewhere around there or before. And I heard about this interim management committee. So I said, no, what is this about? Then I found out, after investigating a little further, that this same clan called the PPP refused to conduct anything called local government elections for almost maybe 20 years. And they installed in our communities committees who they claim are responsible for managing councils. Now these people are here. That's why I spoke to hypocrisy. Now they're here to tell us tomorrow, vote for us so that we can have local governance. When they introduce us to this interim management committees for decades. Please speak to that, Brother Jenna, because
So
you
that's
lived
correct.
here all this time. I wasn't here.
And did you know what Rohi said about that? Clement Rowe, he was Minister of Home Affairs, under which the elections are supposed to be called. Um, Clement Rohi said that the Guyanese people are not matured enough to have local government elections.
Exactly.
You must have read about it, maybe.
Exactly.
And I responded to it. If I can find my article that I responded to it swiftly and put in some licks on him. I know Rohi. I used to be in the PP. He was a little boy in the PPP. These are fellows who were, I can't find words to describe it. They are bootlickers. Him and Donald Ramatar, bootlickers. These are not intellectuals. We don't have intellectuals in this country who are capable of giving us leadership. That's the problem we have in this country. Now, could you imagine not calling local government election is worse than rigging an election
Exactly. And not
and
just not calling it, but installing in communities
installing, yes,
interim management
that
committees that they pick
that's
people to rule in.
that's a dictatorship. I was
That-
surprised that they you know they never could PPP. Check the history of the PPP. I was in the PPP. They never called Burnham a dictatorship.
Listen,
Do you know that? They never called Burnham a dictator
no,
because Jagan supported Burnham because he could not do what Burnham did. Burnham dismantled the framework of colonialism, dismantled it. 80% of the economy was controlled by the state.
by the state. We control our economy, but
Yes,
we must linger here with the interim management committee,
but
because
it,
it's
it
important for the viewers to
yes,
hear
yes.
the hypocrisy here. That for more than 15 to 20 years,
20 years, 20 years
20
to
years,
be exact. Yes.
because remember after I think it was Jagan, Janet, no election,
No elections.
none, nothing
None.
called local
On
government
the
exists.
Jagdeo, on the Jagdeo, we had the worst form of governance.
Exactly.
And the reasons for that is because he had the worst kind of opposition in this country, headed by Corbyn.
Speak to
Because
it.
after Hoyt, despite all his undoing, Hoyt was firm in his
Tough
opposition.
enough to deal with Jagdeo.
Yes, yes, he was very firm with Janet, and he was very firm with Jagdeo. Corbyn only came to light when Sharma was closed down, station was closed down, and he was forced to actually come out and take a leading position. That was just before the 2025, around 2024, 2014 elections.
Hmm.
I was here, and I used to be on Sharma program regularly. Only then Corbyn came to light. All those years during the Jagdeo period, he never had any demonstration. The same problem we having here under Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton, I mean, and all this is politics you're dealing with because it's not. Look, I wrote to Aubrey and I told him, I said, look, there are two topical issues here that will dismantle the PPP on this election here. By the way, let me inform the public that a lot of people, I went to the Parika market today. This is a matter of interest and talk to people. And
Yes,
did you know a lot of people of Indian descent are not even going to go to vote tomorrow?
they're highly upset.
Yes, they're highly upset about a lot of issues. Flooding, they're not getting money. Other people are getting, they're not getting. And, lots of other things that are happening in the community. They're dissatisfied with even an issue, one single issue that may affect each and every one of them, and they decided they're not going to participate in the political process. That is why the PPP has gone all out desperately to use public funds. This has never happened in the country, and
No.
there's no accountability for that money.
And no, and let us speak to Granger, because remember that it was upon in 2015 where Granger would have come on board and said, listen, we're going to restore, and in fairness to him, he said, we're going to have local government, all this not locally governed. At least he tried to use a terminology and have an election. It never happened on the Jagdeo. Jagdeo refused to do it. Instead,
Yes,
Jagdeo's preference would have been to have what are called interim management committees. And these people have got direct contacts to Freedom House and to him, and they can call and they controlled. Now, let me share this from Lyndon's perspective. Through all those years, Brother Jen and viewers, with this interim management committee, Linden was not developed, and that's on the PPP now. They did not repair our grounds. They did not fix our garbage issues and so on. Interim management here. They said no mayor. There'll be an IMC in place, and the chairman will lead the town. We suffered for years. Now, how can anybody in their right mind believe that after Granger came and restored this thing called local government and had elections, I think it was 2018 or 20, 18 first, then 20. How do we now have the situation whereby the PPP are saying to people, vote for us so we can lead in your communities? It is because they see, and I know, that their support base is severely affected by their behavior.
Yes, yes.
And
See,
they know this is a thermostat or a gauge.
but to hear what just happened, I read a video this morning by a monk, and he says that every second of your life matters because something can happen within a minute that can either get success or get failure. In a minute, in a second, he says. They did not expect the situation to be as it is in the Amerindian community. Their calculation is or was that they will get 15 or 20% of the African Guyanese to go and vote for them, and that the same thing will happen in the Amerindian community. But those 20 children that were murdered have actually turned it to such an extent that is unstoppable, and that this situation would not return to normal. The Amerindian community have have developed such a hate. Could you imagine your child being burnt alive and you have no responsibility? I mean, it wasn't that happened didn't happen in their homes. It
No,
happened under the care of a
exactly.
caring government.
And since you're going there, I don't. Since you're going there, people are saying that Priya has nothing to do with it. But I want to ask every viewer on this broadcast, every viewer, to tell me the truth. Who was the first? Who would have been the first two ministers you saw in Madhya? Tell us the truth. Don't. This is not PNC and PP here. This is the truth. Priya had nothing to do with it. But I want you to tell us who was the very first two. Who are the first two to show up in Madhya and were walking all over the evidence and so on. Tell them. Tell us.
That was Priya
Robson Ben,
and Robson Ben.
the,
And
the,
you're
the
right.
number two, the
They were
fire crew.
mashing up. They were mashing up all the forensic evidence for the
Exactly.
investigation.
And a
Yeah.
fire personnel was there with them
Yes,
walking in the rubble.
walking on. I
While
mean,
body
all of
parts
these.
were there, body parts were still there, and they're walking.
Yes. Why do they
So
have to do that though? Why did they have to go there to do that?
exactly. But the point is, before we go there, if Priya had nothing to do with it, why was she present? If Robson Ben has nothing to do with this situation because it's out of his hand as Minister of Home Affairs, why did he show up so quickly? Because they know their responsibility. So when you spoke to what will happen to our children, what happened to our children in Madhya is a direct result of the negligence of this administration.
I mean, you have more experience with me in the school because you're a governor. The fact that you have found after that incident defects in the building where the children are
Yes.
attending school, it has to be the responsibility of the Minister of Education. And the Minister of Education has direct responsibility for the health and safety of any building where children or students go to.
Because while we still speak to local governance, in the Ministry of Education, something called a safe school policy that Peter doesn't want to talk about in light of this situation here. There's something called a safe school policy. So whenever there's a cost attached, the regional officer, the executive officer, he gets involved because he is answerable to Dharam Lal, who's the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. So how do we have a case in our hand where a group is asking us to vote for them with all of this on the table? So are we supposed to forget about the 20 children who were murdered and who were
No,
burned
well,
to death?
they're shifting blame. You see, we have a blame culture in this country. People do not want to take responsibility for things that they are directly responsible for, and that
Exactly.
is the problem. It's a cruel society where people do not want to accept responsibility even for their own children. And there's a lot to discuss here, but we won't get into all of that now. We
Yeah.
got to discuss the local government thing.
Right.
What is happening here is that there's serious desperation to try to garner support, to show that they're doing things for people and people are voting for them. That is what it's all about. Because every single telegram post, light pole, or in the country has a PPP flag. Every
And
single
yeah,
post.
but aren't we speaking to one Guyana, Brother Jenna?
Yes, but that's
Okay.
one Guyana.
So if Ali says there's one Guyana, there's no, because it's said in London, there's no red, there's no green. But all of them were in red though. I
Yes,
found it to
yes,
be funny.
yes.
When Ali came to London using the state's helicopter, he came here for a PvP rally. The man introduced him, said, McClellan said, listen, there's nothing, no red and any green here. We all won. But everybody was wearing red, including Ali.
I tell you what happened. I tell you what happened today. A woman came up to me and she said, "We will vote for you if you give us $24,000." So I went back into my car and took out my phone. I said,
Wow.
"Could you actually give me two reasons why I have to give you $24,000?" And I took out my phone and she ran away. But you know what
Uh-huh.
happened? You know what happened? At 6 o'clock when I went out there to do some more campaigning, she and the other woman that were in Farm Village, the black women I'm talking about, they come off the bus coincidentally wearing red jerseys, brother. So certainly they went to the PPP office, they got red jerseys, and they got money. So they definitely are going to go to vote tomorrow morning because they got money to vote. Now, that's an abrogation of our electoral laws, you know.
It
You are
is.
not
It,
supposed to pay anyone for voting for them. And a case could be brought up where people can come forward and say that they were given so and so amount of money and name the person who give them the money, right, to go and vote. But you see, we don't have a good opposition party to set up
no,
these
no.
these
And,
kind of.
and what persons are doing, at least I'm here in Linden, they're not, of course, saying we're giving this to vote for us, as we say, brother. What they're
Yeah,
saying to them is, here's some money to help with the business, or here's some money to help with a little development. We see that you want to advance some things, so we're giving you this is the money, some money here to help you in your venture. At the end of the day, it is still illegal,
it's
because
bribery.
if you are going on a campaign and you're giving people money to do anything, it is implicit that you want them to vote for you.
Yeah, but the thing is that there's a procedure to give out public funds, which is to say that you have to make an application, you have to go
Correct.
through a process, somebody has to vet it, they have to come and visit your property. You know, you don't give out money like that. You have to assess the person and all of these type of things. The fact that they are using this fund without proper accountability is a crime,
It is a crime. It
and
is
they,
a crime
they should be
against the
taken to
world.
court. They should be a private prosecution should be taken out and let them go to the court and present the accounts of where this money come from. What is the source of the funding? Because you remember when they are budgeting, you have to budget for every single item,
Every cent that's
every
supposed to be
cent.
spent in the country.
So where if they're getting this money that they're giving out, which one of the financial heading that
Right.
this
The
money is coming from.
so
Which
on. Right.
ministry? You know what I mean?
Correct. Correct.
So that's the
Now,
problem we have, and the opposition is not doing anything about it. I don't understand the parliamentarians. They seem not to know what their duties and responsibilities are.
I
Parliamentarians are supposed to represent people, and how
well,
they're going to represent people when they don't come and visit you? And
right.
then,
Let me say this. they know what their duties are, but they're failing to perform them because I don't think anybody's unsure as to what they should be doing. Most of them are there for quite a while. But they don't want to do it for many reasons that we could talk about. One of them being, in some cases, the Jaguar secrets for everybody. So people are scared to make a move because if you make a move, you could pull the plug and say, okay, then this is what you did. What about this? And I remember that in 2015 when you opened the books and the yellow folder and said, oh, y'all want to talk? Come for me. I give this one, I think his best name he called. He said, I give you land in Prattville too. So come, y'all come. He said, I have more names here too. So if you want to come for me, I have my folder here because he said he's the one who's responsible for signing off on any state land for people to get. So I don't know if that's why people scared. But let's talk a bit about this, Jenna. And here we're going to seek to project based on our wisdom what is likely to happen. And the audience, you can speak to this as well. If the PPP, not PNC, not APNU, the PPP did this. They removed the system of local governance, as it's called. They removed anything called mayors, and they installed interim management committees across this country. I want you to tell me, people, if they did it before for 20 years, is it possible that if they get into certain seats here, that they'll do it again? Let's just talk straight.
I
They,
think
they, they, they bypass, I think, about 5 or 6 local government electoral cycles, forgot about it, and just went ahead with it. People are clamoring to say you have to hold it, and they didn't care about that. So if they did it once, is it possible for them to do it again?
here how they will do it, brother. It's about starving the local authority or the municipalities that are not under their
Say it,
control.
my brother, say it.
Yes, that's how they will do it. They will do it in a different form because it will be too much for them to actually go back to establish interim because you have had the election. You see what has happened to Georgetown. Now they're blaming the mayor, the current mayor, and the PNC who controls the municipality, the one in New Amsterdam, the one in Bartica, the one in Madia, you know what I mean, the one in Linden. All
Right.
these municipalities are under the control of the PNC, and so on. And so what they want to do is to want to have control. If they don't get control, the desperation to have democratic control over them. If they fail to get that, they will then starve them out
Starve
of
for fun.
funds.
Yes.
That is what they're going to do. And they will find ways and means of doing that and then turn around and blame the administration, the respective administration for mismanaging the municipalities.
But what they can also do is ensure that these municipalities fail in reference to functionality, and then say that because you are failing, we'll have to now remove you and install this interim management committee to restore order in this municipality.
Well,
And once they do that, remember that if they gain a footing in certain areas or they fail, these people are able to justify the most criminal things that they do.
yeah, but that will only happen, and you're right, it's likely to happen because the PNC councillors are indolent. In my area, they have done nothing. In fact, the PNC councillors, the two of them who were elected in the borough in the my NDC here, they stole lands, they occupied lands in the area there, 50 acres of land, and they are cultivating it to the point where the resident who own those lands, there is there is an action, an injunction filed against one of them for working his land, and I've seen the man's transport and so on. So this is what they're doing. The PNC is allowing this to happen because when we went to Aubrey Norton and we told and I have nothing to hide, and
Right.
you know we are our policy is not to hide anything from the public. If you come and talk to me, I will tell the public. I am not going to talk to an ambassador and then I don't tell my party what I spoke to the ambassador
Quite
about.
true.
I will tell the public. The ambassador must know whatever you're telling me, I have to report to the public.
In their capacity, correct.
Yes, because you are elected by the people to represent the people, and there can't be any secret between you and the people. You can have secret between if you're running your private business,
Correct.
you can keep that secret, but you cannot keep secret from the public if you are representing the public. And this is what Aubrey Norton and Granger has been doing in government and in opposition. They behave in the same way, and we have to stop this nonsense about electing people who are not giving the public accountability. You
I
need
agree.
public accountability and financial accountability. Aubrey Norton is being questioned by the PNC about him spending money and can't give an account for it. You remember that video that came out? That
I do recall.
Yes. So this is what is happening. You see, the difficulty that some people have with us is that they are shocked when we criticize what is going on in the country, and we don't care whoever it hits. It doesn't matter to us because we want better governance, which
And
will deliver services to the ordinary people, which they're not getting.
that the crux of what we're looking for, which then speaks to the fact that it's hypocritical, if you ask me, for there to be anything called interim management committees installed in people's communities when people have voted for them. And then now you come to say, like an angel, you want to have local government elections and campaign so passionately for it.
That
No
will
way.
happen, brother. That will happen only if those who are elected in the different respective areas, the PNT areas mainly, because remember we have now started out the new movement, and so we don't have any direct control over any of these NDCs or
Correct.
municipality. But that will happen because as people get more educated and understand that they have to take responsibility for their own welfare and that of their children, they will come forward. And as we have these discussions and we educate people about their rights and their duties and responsibilities, you will get better counsel. But it's not going to happen overnight. You know that. I
No,
mean,
it takes time and it takes work. And it takes, for me, in my view, and the reason why I keep speaking to interim management committees so often is because the one guy needs to be in remembrance of what they've dealt with before. And for us as the people to understand that we must stop it at all cost because it should have happened in the first place. If Ghanaians were strong enough, they should have stopped this from the beginning. They should have refused to allow any interim anything to enter any of our government buildings or municipal buildings. We should have locked them out.
yes,
We should have put ourselves before those gates and said that the only person who can come into this office in Linden is someone who's elected to serve here,
yes,
not the PP puts here. So I'm saying this now that you may have, because remember there were councillors before.
yes,
Let's not forget that there were NDC councillors before, and Jagdeo just ignored all of them and
yes.
threw in our faces this thing called IMC, and of course the police would be behind the
And
military force.
that's a dictatorship. It's a form of
It
dictatorship.
is
I tell you why.
100% so.
Yes, because if you violate the constitution of your country, you suspend the democratic process where people have the opportunity to actually elect their own representative. It is dictatorship. There is no other word to describe it. And the fact that Jagdeo is a constitutional dictatorship because they misuse the constitution. They abrogated the constitution to impose a form of government that only they can control. And
Right.
I understand your fear. That can easily happen if the people have, as they have done for 20 years, been sleeping. That's what has happened. They've been sleeping. And what we have to do is try to avoid that by having this regular discussion, not only on air, but also meeting people and trying to
People,
choose right people to get them conscientized, to get them to stand and defend their rights in the areas where they live. So
that,
far, we have only had one area contesting, but
that,
we hope that next time it will be different.
yeah, and because we have an understanding, as I said, I understand the dynamics of Linden, and that is why I did not play a part in this process, because I also understand how controlled Region 10 is, and Linden is, I should say, in reference to local governance. You see, unlike where you are, Region 3, there's some flexibility in your land, which is why the people's movement, you're there, you're seeking to, and we're seeking to engage and represent the people in the certain communities. But in Linden, it's different because wherever the PPP do not have absolute control, Linden is a perfect example. They cause it to be destroyed, and they're saying to people indirectly, and I'm saying the people are saying, listen, if they win, then they're going to fix the roads and they're going to fix the community and so on. My point is, you are the administration. How much more powerful can you be than that? You are the governing body, and you still have this town looking in this manner. But when it comes to interim management committees, by the term, it speaks to the fact that there's somebody in there. They try to do it with the credit unions too. You remove the elected bodies and you install people who you believe are subjected to you, and therefore you have a chance to have a foothold in these environments. It is dictatorial. The only person who will have, and that's what I want before tomorrow and people go to vote, I want you all to hear me. The only people who will have the will to remove elected people and put selected people in place and call them interim management committee are dictators. Let's call them for what they are. As you were saying, Brother Jinna, this is the attribute of a dictatorship and a characteristic of a dictatorship, where we don't want what the people want. We're going to put who we want, and you have to accept and admit and accept who
That's
they are.
what they're doing. Irfan Ali went like a bull in a china shop in that area where they demolished those people who legitimately, what's the name of that area again? In
More
Georgetown?
Arcadia,
Yes. They went there, he went there like a bull in a china shop, dismissed the councillors who were legitimately elected there to represent the people.
you
And
remember?
he did not want to hear the,
Mm-hmm.
the elected council. They shout him down because he brought a gang of criminals who came there, right? All these people who you see, they dress in red. They pay them to put on the red. I am sure about that. I have evidence of that. And then they go, they drag them there with buses and so on to show a crowd. It's what we call fetching a crowd.
Right.
So those people you see at all these public meetings are not residents that live in the area.
No,
No,
I'm
they are not.
well aware of that. That happens a
But
lot in
it carries is a psychological warfare that they want to show, and it's a form of terrorism. You come into my community, bring people from all over the place, you dress them up, you bring your vehicles and so on, and you behave as if of the people are supporting you in that area, and the people not coming out, and they
right.
have the powerful mic
Yeah, the
that
PA
you.
systems, right.
Yes, and they broadcast all over the place with the nonsense they talk about. But I told a woman today,
Uh-huh.
when when ants get to wing, what happens?
They fly.
No, they die.
You told me that they were in flies and so on.
Yes, when they get to wing,
They
it's,
fly and that's it. It's over.
it's over. So all this palaver running around, using all the modern facilities to try and induce people to go out and vote and so on. I have been to Parika, and I am telling you, people of Indian descent come up to me and they ask me about the election. I didn't go campaign. I just went with my friend to check around to buy some stuff and so on. And they were stopping me. What do you think about the election, man? And they're telling me, so what? I said, what do you think? And to me, if I ain't going to vote, no, me, I'm under this and I'm under that. Look how much oil money. And that's how, that was the talk.
Yeah.
I said to Aubrey Norton that 90% of the people of this country across the board are disenchanted in the way in which the oil is
What
being
country? Yeah.
mismanaged. And
Yes.
if you have a political movement, that's why Glenlal is gaining momentum because he's every day at it. And Aubrey Norton said that's all he talks about. But what he doesn't understand, that is the key. He said, why you
What
not talking
part
about housing? Why you not talking about health and so on? The fact of the matter is he's talking about that so that we can get that money to do all these other social amenities, create
correct?
jobs, create opportunities. And the fact that Aubrey Norton can't understand that oil is the key. to the whole development of this country at this time. You can't separate what is happening. The local government, Granger made some changes, some cosmetic changes to the local government law, which brought into being the local government commission. I don't know if you remember,
Yes.
but the local government commission gives the majority to the ruling party in office. It's not an independent body.
Hmm.
So even though it has certain powers over that was taken away from the minister at the time, it still is controlled by the party in government. So when Granger was in office, this man called Mingo was the chairman of the election commission. The man who is the chairman now is a man called Julius Faber, who used to be the chairman, PPP chairman, regional chairman in Region 3. So it's just a matter of shifting colors or
Exactly.
personnel. But there's no democracy there because all kinds of things happening there at the local authority. And Mr. Faber does nothing about it because the people who are being accused of all kinds of things, like one of the chairman, one of the in my area here in the region, harassed their overseer to the point where she left. She resigned as the overseer, and we made serious complaint about it, and nothing happened. The woman resigned. That's the level which we're at. So
Right.
we make these cosmetic changes, you see, and so the PPP and the PNC, there's no fundamental difference between the way in which they function and operate. Because Granger now is talking about a one-party state, right? But he's allowed that to happen
Of,
because,
of all people.
yes, because you spoke last night, I think, or yesterday, about the PR. The people on the PR list are not elected by the people. And why do you want a PR list? Why? Because you have constituencies. You have 7 constituencies in a particular area. And you stand that councillor in that particular area. And only those people in that ward can vote for that person in that constituency. So they have control over that person.
Right.
So they elect that person. They can remove that person under the right to recall under
Correct.
our constitution. So that the residents, if they're dissatisfied, they don't have to go to the man on the list. So there should not be any list system. The
I agree.
list system is a highly undemocratic and dictatorial system. I stood on the list of the last local government election. I campaigned. And the guy who was in charge of the list didn't, because I went to Trinidad urgently. And during that period of time, they had to choose people from the long list.
Ah,
I wasn't on that list. No, because the guy who they put there was a non-entity. He he left the PPP, joined the PNC, and he was in control of the list. Now he gone back to the PPP.
wow.
You see the kind of prostitution that takes place in our country,
Oh,
and you call
definitely.
that politics? You call that politics? It's not politics. Politics is not. Politics is an art of governance. That's what it is. It's not corruption. It can never be.
Exactly. No, it is indeed an act of governance,
And when people
and
say
good governance was healthy for Guyanese.
they have conditioned our people, particular people of African descent, they have conditioned them to believe this nonsense about, oh, we don't want to do with politics, and they join these different religious groups, which
Right.
tell them that politics is dirty, you can't participate in it. And the church, these type of churches or mosques or temples and so on, they don't help these people.
Correct. But
And that's
but
the problem.
it's important for you to state that because going back to the matter of the interim management committees, they, because of the manner in which they were installed, it spoke them having central control. So people are controlling them from somewhere else. They didn't have power to do things in the region, in the township. They were controlled. There's no difference, in my view, between an interim management committee and the councils we have before us because they're also controlled centrally. which is why I am of the firm view, and you share it in the People's Movement, this is where we stand. We believe with all of our hearts that there should be some legal framework that says that if ever a party has, let's say, by percentage, 30% or more in the House of Assembly, they should not be represented at the local government election. That's my heart. There should be no major party involved in any local government election in this country. Neither should there be any minister responsible for local government in this country. Because for as long as there's a minister, there's an IMC, in my view. Because Darmlal tells people, even with the PNC, no, you can't do that. You cannot do this. This little boy has the nerve to try to rule what's happening in Ireland, and people can't deal with him.
But he gerrymandered the
Remember?
electoral areas.
Boundaries and so on.
Yeah, without any consultation
No
with the
consultation.
opposition or anybody else for that matter. And they
No
were challenged in
consultation.
the court. And you see that we don't have good lawyers and we don't have good judges because the matter went to the court and the judge threw it out just like that. This chief justice that we have got, I don't understand that woman. I
I'm
just
really
don't understand her.
certain decisions that concern me greatly as a Guyanese, because to say that one person in Dharamlal or any other faith can just autonomously, without consultation, change the demographics in reference to how things function in a country, we should be bothered by that.
Of
Because
course,
this has to be electoral processes.
he didn't follow due process. In fact,
No,
that is the minister should not have control over the local government election.
not in the least.
GCOM is supposed to be an independent entity that should actually have total control over when the elections are called and all the whatever, because they get billions of dollars to run all the elections in this country, and they have enough personnel. You know the amount of difficulty I had. I repeated it on our shows about trying to get our candidate in with all the right documents and papers. It's amazing, and you get highly unqualified people who are highly paid, and they don't know do their job properly. And the reasons for that is because you have party people who are commissioners who defend one group of bureaucrats or the other group of bureaucrats. But if you have independent GCOM commissioners, then they don't have to look to no political parties or who's employed. The people who are employed there have to be professionals. So when they make a mistake or they do things wrong, then you penalize them for that. You don't go to them at the party head office because they were appointed because the party people know them. The commissioners know them, so you get the guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So unless, huh?
it is fortunate that we have to deal with this nonsense in this country, and it has to change. Because tomorrow is not about local government elections. Tomorrow is about centrally governed communities. That's what it's about. It is not about local government. Communities are governed centrally. If you are independent, then like the People's Movement, you can have a voice, and your voice can be raised against certain atrocities that we intend to do. But you are not governing, because governance speaks to having the power to do things and to rule, and that is not what happens at local government level. You are told about what you can do, and even in reference to the mayor, tomorrow we're going to find people in the new week, within this week, they're going to meet, and within their circles, like the IMC, somebody from Freedom House or somebody from Congress Place will tell them who must be the mayor. That's an IMC. That's an interim management committee,
That's what
because
that's it
they tell you
exactly.
who should be mayor.
It's a
They tell
highly
you
undemocratic. And what we need to vote for a mayor and not for a party. That a
and
person
every
comes
mayor should contest independently, not under
independently.
the party banner here.
Exactly.
That's what you
Exactly.
should be having.
So
Every
that
NDC
so that
representative should contest independently.
so that anybody can stand to become mayor. You don't have to belong to a political party. And in
Exactly.
fact, it should be constitutionally set out in that way that anybody could stand, and we should have be to vote directly for the mayor.
For the mayor. And you have two elections that are running, one
Yes,
for mayor and one for councillors. You
one for
can't
council.
vote.
Yes,
So you're either a mayor, if you lose, you're out,
yes,
or you're running for a councillor of a particular constituency.
exactly,
In those constituencies, we also make it mandatory that you must have public debates and meetings,
exactly.
at least three. of 5. If you fail to show up to 3, you disqualify from the whole process.
Exactly.
That's how the people have a chance to engage with you and to hear what you have to say. If you fail to show up for 3 out of 5, you're gone. That's 60%. You're out. We don't want you anymore. But there must be a case in all across Guyana where the people would see the mayoral candidates. The mayoral candidates can have their debates publicly, and then there's an election for the mayor in every township. In the NDC, there's an election for chairman. There is no room for any major political party to be involved. You are disqualified. So Ejil can't show up and talk for the PPP. We can't have Norton coming to talk in some community for PNC. No, you can't, none of y'all. We want the people to rule at their local level, and they should be at these levels as well. Maybe a local democratic board or local government board that is autonomous. And they would manage the affairs if there are any issues in the community, but not some central body. So these are all things that I believe as we close, we should lobby for, Brother Jinnah, because Guyana has to be different. And that's what the People's Movement who our focus will be. That's what the theme of our future would be, a different Guyana. We cannot function like this to go under the same umbrella with a bloated electoral official list of electors. Don't forget that.
There's no guidance.
There's no guidance.
Yeah, no guidance.
What guides us forward? Somebody rightly said we don't even know who won in 2020 yet.
The other thing that I found out, a lot of people, when I went out there just now, I had a piece of paper with our candidate and his name and his photograph and so on, to show people this is what the ballot is going to look like, because some of them never voted. And this way you have to mark the X if you're going to vote for us. And there's a symbol there, which is the map of Guyana. And they will say, "Oh, I didn't know that." So right away they draw their consciousness and their understanding. You tell them a little bit about the candidate and so on. But I hope that we can win this election here at the local level, and that we can then begin the process. Whether win or lose, we have to do what you said.
We need it. So
wish us well for tomorrow. And I have to be there at 6 o'clock. But if you can have a program in the morning, 7 o'clock, it'd be good.
We can, because at the end of the day, what we want to have is for Guyanese to understand, one, the different dynamics of our societies. As I said, in Region 3 where you are, and in that area where the People's Movement is, it's a different dynamic. We do not have the tension that we have here to that extent.
I understand, because you're fighting two forces.
Correct.
You're fighting the PNC and the PPP, trying to...
Right.
Yes.
See, and these two are in cahoots in reference to what happens in our community. Because they did not come forward to fight for anything. Nothing.
Exactly.
But now they're very present. I'm saying if they spend 10% of that time going around Guyana to fight for people, or Linden would not be, they couldn't take sports club from us. These people came into our town and took an entire community center. And the councillors didn't come out to chain the gates and fight. I stood there alone. But now people have energy to go forward and say that they're clamoring for some position of authority. We need a different Guyana. So somebody's asking, where in Region 3? Where in Region 3 would Terence be?
Where is Region 3?
We're in Region 3.
It's in the... it's next to Parika.
Right.
Actually bordering Parika, to be more precise. It's Hydroni, Good Hope. And it has 14 seats, 7 constituency seats, and 7 PR. So we're only contesting 1 constituency.
Right.
Because we didn't have the resources and all of that, unfortunately.
Timing is everything in reference to these processes. And if we're going to effect change in Guyana and see a different Guyana, we have to have a national outlook. And that's important.
Yeah, that's very important.
On a national scale. You cannot change Guyana by local governance, because there's nothing called local governments indeed in our constitution. There's no true reflection of local governance. What the People's Movement is seeking is for there to be a truly different Guyana, not the same old nonsense. Because what sense would it make for us to enter into assemblies and different halls of leadership under the same banner, and we can't change anything. Under the same constitution, and I doubt this was the Local Government Act ever sent it to? That's something I need to look into. Because I'm not sure whether we have laws that truly govern local governance.
Yeah, there are laws.
Okay, perfect. So why should we go and subject ourselves on a national scale to laws that we know are destructive to governance of our communities? It won't help us. There needs to be a change of the laws in Guyana to create a different Guyana. A Guyana in which Guyanese can see, for example, and I know that's a tough one, but if there are 65 seats, which I think are too many, our country is too small for 65 seats in the House of Assembly in the first place. I don't know if we have to have 65 members of parliament. To do
No,
what?
you don't need that.
Exactly. See? So let's just say 33. If you have 33 seats in the House of Assembly, there should be 33 people who have been elected to be there.
Yes.
Just like with the councils.
Yes.
And the presidential race should be like the US, whereby it is a race or a battle for a particular position.
Yeah.
If you lose, you are out. There's
We
no
don't
easy
need,
win.
like in my area and these NDCs, you don't need 7 PR person that is not elected by the people. You have 7 constituencies and people stand in those constituencies and you got 7 councillors. You don't want 14 councillors.
No.
No, you don't need that. It's
Indigenous
unnecessary.
communities.
Yes,
This is good.
totally.
Somebody said they have 65 to spend more tax dollars. And it's the truth.
That's true. That's true. That's very true.
Everybody get duty-free concession and enjoy themselves.
Absolutely. They create more confusion. And
Exactly.
yeah, more confusion in the minds of people.
Guyana doesn't have 2 million people. Why do you need to have 65 seats?
Yes.
To do what?
Yeah.
I believe that we could be governed by 33 people in the House of Assembly.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Fewer, you know, the old saying,
Department of leadership.
the old saying, brother, fewer but better.
Fewer but better. I like that. I always love that. Fewer but better.
Better.
So, Brother Jenna, tomorrow I know that Brother Terrence would be there in Region 3.
Yeah, I'll be up. I have to be up early in the morning. I have to be there at 6 o'clock.
All right. So rest well, and I should be streaming live from Linden.
Yeah, see if we can
like
do some things, and maybe I can join you. I'll go put
All
down
right.
some credit, and maybe I don't know, but if you're on, let's see.
You have Digicel?
I have this to sell. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So your phone will be topped up so we can have a conversation.
I will top it up. Yes.
But I want to show people what's happening, not what's happening at the voting places, the booths now. I want people to see what the PPP is asking you to do. Vote for us and we'll do this. And what Apne is saying to you, vote for us and we'll do this. And both sat around 3 years, and I'll show you what they did.
They had all the time to do things and they're not doing it.
Exactly. All right.
So I'll see you tomorrow.
Look forward to it. You do well. Viewers, thank you so much. I appreciate, of course.
Take care. Thanks very much, Brother Nigel, for coming on and
do well.
inspiring us to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Well, but take care.
Right.
Viewers across the world, viewers here in Guyana, let us understand, as Kelvin said, I just love this. The PP is governing with 33 right now, and that's the truth. Because there's nothing that APNU says that they pay attention to and respect. And if you look at it, honestly speaking, whenever there's a vote, for example, with the National Resource Fund Act, Natural Resource Fund Act, the PP and Schuman and they voted yes. Forget about APNU. But we are way too powerful a nation at this time to cause ourselves to be lost in bad decision making, which is what you call bad politics. We don't need that. We have to restructure our country. There must be a new Guyana, a different, as a matter of fact, Guyana, because you can be new, but not very different in reference to how you function. There can be new faces. There can be new parties, but nothing different. We want a difference in this country. The way that we're being governed structurally is bad. It's terrible. And both parties subscribe to it. And that should tell you all everything. I hold fast to the view, and that's why the People's Movement is very strange, very unique in how we function. I hold fast to the view that with this list of electors and how I feel about this list of electors, severely bloated, extremely bloated, I don't want to deal with it. Because you saw, and let's not forget, the hypocrites now, PNC have people complaining that somebody signed. Well, I saw just one complaint and then somebody signed for him as endorsing a candidate. Just one. But the PPP has their people. And Jagdeo apologized, which, and again, you'll come to me, vote for us. When Jagdeo apologized to a woman for somebody from the PPP camp signing the name of a dead woman in this same local government process. And Jagdeo apologized, which means he admitted to guilt. He admitted. And these hypocrites are saying to you, vote for us. While we have people signing for dead people, vote for us. Now, how can you trust anyone to lead you? How can you trust people if persons from both sides are accused of signing as endorsement people's names? That's forgery. We need a different Guyana. We're not hopping around and taking dead people's signatures and putting the papers and say the people have endorsed you. Please do. Please do. And share the results with us. And we have them published. Thank you. I know that you're very good at statistics, Brother Elton. All right? Let us not forget. Let us not, we can't forget these people. We cannot, I would not allow you to go to any voting booth tomorrow and forget that Jagdeo sitting in what they call this vice presidency seat has more power than Mark Phillips in reference to how he behaves himself, how he conducts himself. Apologize to somebody because someone signed as her mother who's dead. That is called rigging. There's no other term for it. How can you have people, Christians, ask you to vote for people who have begun to rig a process? Because if you don't know, if you could say that the dead woman signed for you, then maybe the dead woman could vote for you too. That's called impersonation. It's rigging. Rigging is just miscounting ballots. Rigging as a whole can be involved in the process of registration too. We need, brothers and sisters, a different Guyana. We are seeking to have a different Guyana. It is imperative that our children are able to see a different Guyana. I'm happy that I'm seeing the hashtags all across the screen. A different Guyana. With that, I say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. And this is the dawning. Apostle Lambert say, vote for me, and I guarantee that I will sweep and clean the house and throw dust on some people. I know that you will. We need a different Guyana. The way that things are going in our community, in our society, it is unproductive. We need a different Guyana, where our electoral process would reflect the true desires of the people. And as I said to you, anything called an interim management committee that Jagdio and others allowed to run in this country for so long should warn you of what the future can behold. Because what happened is he took people, Ramatar as well as happened under him, and had them in offices like that the mayor should be sitting in, that the NDC chairman, the Neighborhood Democratic Council chairman should be sitting in. And these people were, I know them, I met them, many of them. They were direct agents of the PPP. Thank you, Lord. You on it tonight. Let me show you what Lord has said. Jagdeo said in Georgetown when somebody asked him, because they vote for the PPP, and we're going to ensure that Georgetown is fixed. So what does that tell you all? And I've said it in a previous broadcast. What does that tell you? If you're told that you have to vote for Georgetown, for Jagdeo, and then you will see something different in your country, what does it tell you? This is what we need. This is what we are going to fight for. A different Guyana. Don't give us new. Give us different. Let our children not be taught in schools about this undemocratic dictatorial system that we have for, in many parts, cases for a constitution. We need a different Guyana. This image should be in our hearts, where as a people, we are going to fight for what is different, that produces better governance. A different Guyana in which ExxonMobil cannot tell us that we have to accept or challenge some court order that says they must provide for us. Guaranteed, that is unlimited. We need a different Guyana. We need a different Guyana that says that nobody can come here and extract our resources, and they take 90% or 98% and we get 2% royalty because they must share among the big boys. We need a different Guyana that says that our oil is not bad. So if you cannot respect the fact that it's our resource, then you wouldn't touch it. We need a different Guyana. What does the blue, because I want you to see this and understand, the blue in this movement represents limitlessness. There is no limit to what we can achieve together as Guyanese. That's what you're seeing. There is no limit to what we shall be able to achieve. Because the sky, as it says, the limit, but the sky is limitless. And all of us are going to uphold this land and governance in this land. Let us have a different Guyana. Brothers and sisters, I thank you all for your time. And you shall be hearing a lot more from us. Because when the local government dust settles, as what they call local government, what they refer to as local government, then we shall begin our work for a different Guyana. Or we shall intensify, because the work has started already, but we shall intensify our work. We shall intensify what we do. That's our responsibility. I thank you all for your time. I end with Wendell Eversley's comment. Great program. It's time the people unite and make Guyana a great country. God put resources in the soil for the people of Guyana. No political party, no one person or their friends. Exactly. It belongs to us. We need flyers to share. We'll have them electronically. Then I'll post them up. You can take them and let's spread them all across the page, all across our pages. We need a different Guyana. Somebody asked, why did I put red? Well, it's actually a concept that's designed by myself and some artists. Red is not the PPP color. Let's just be clear on that. Our flag has red in it. So the person asked the question, I would not leave here without answering that question. I saw it earlier when he posted the remark here. Right. No, Nathan said, why you put red in there? Red doesn't belong to the PPP. Red speaks to that struggle, that the fire, the strength of a people. The price, important to note, Nathan, I'm happy that you asked. Red speaks to the price that our forefathers paid to have us sitting here doing what we do. Let us not forget, ever, that the Indians who came, in reference to numbers, the Africans and the Hebrews who came, because they all look similar, who came here? Every canal, Nathan, in Georgetown, I don't know where you live, whenever you pass and hear about Lamaha Canal, along Lamaha up there, when you see Main Street and Avenue Republic in Georgetown, you see the big, wonderful canals, they were dug by Africans and they died in there. That's not a PPP color. And don't let anybody tie you down to this color code as if you got Bloods and Crips here. There's a history that Guyanese must not forget. That when the indentured servants came, when the Indians came, they noticed that Massa was not different. The promises were lies. And the Indians began to fight. Don't forget that. Their blood was shed. Not to the extent that the Africans were, but they fought nonetheless. So let's not forget this here. Red is not PPP. So that's why I put red here, because I shouldn't do anything red. People don't control me like that. We understand in this movement that there was a price that was paid to have us where we are today. So when you all take bottles and throw in the canal, remember what you throw there? Your father's blood was in there for some of you, your forefathers. They died digging with spade, not excavator. Little spades that were dull, and they were beaten in the sun by these European demons who now want to come and tell us how to run our country. Gold speaks, of course, to the wealth of this nation that all Guyanese must enjoy. I leave you with this. Every Guyanese household must have in it the experience of having at least $1 million. If not every month, every quarter. $1 million. So every Guyanese household must say that we had a chance to hold $1 million in our hand. Are we millionaires? So on an annual basis, they would have at least $3 million to $4 million, the minimum per household in this country. It is called an economic redemption fund. Remember those things, because I'm giving you the manifesto and the other leaders will come along with us. But as the one who's assigned to lead, I will tell you, the economic recovery fund for Guyanese would be to redeem our image. So don't tell me that I mustn't, why I put red. Red is not for PPP. Gold is for us. The wealth that we possess as a people belongs to us. So don't forget this. Red is not for the blood that's being shed all across this country now on this criminal band. Red is for a struggle that I'm aware of, that you should be aware of, and that you must never forget. When your children jump into the blocker that was dug by the slaves, that's what happened. Kings, tribal leaders, princes, princesses were forced into those ditches to dig them so that the white man could have water for the cane fields. Don't play with us. So together, we're saying that we are limitless. That's blue. There's no limit to what Guyana can become if it's a different Guyana. Red is saying that we value the struggle of our foreparents, and we shall not have it disrespected by this clan called politicians now in this country. We shall restore the integrity of our foreparents. Burnham and Jagan didn't fight for Guyana to be this. They both agreed that the white man is our enemy, and we have to deal with them. In reference to these European criminals who wanted to take all of our resources and give us nothing. They both agreed. Because Jagan said he agrees with Burnham, he will fight for the nationalization of our industries. Let me not go there with you all tonight. Don't feel that Burnham and Jagan were fighting for something different. They fought for the same thing. But the CIA and Scotland Yard said, we know what to do. We're going to make them say that because your hair is straight and my hair is kinky, you're not mine. Happened, Jagan came back with, and that is what turned Guyana upside down. But that is not what we began with. Let us do this together. We need a different Guyana. We need a Guyana where teachers, nurses, doctors, police officers, firemen, those who served and would have served for so many years and suffered for so many years, you must all be entitled to, as all Guyanese actually across the board. You must not pay anything called 100% and 115% and 85% on any vehicle in this country. It is criminal. While your members of parliament have duty-free concession every 3 years, you have to die trying to buy a car. And like the police, the soldier who died, you're trying to work taxi just to pay for your vehicle and stuff like that. That should not be what Guyana is. And should I put my foot, Yahweh willing, if ever, in the House of Assembly, I would never take anything called any letter for duty-free concession if my Guyanese have to pay duty on their vehicles that they can't afford. Hell no. We need a different Guyana. No member of parliament must have the privilege. Guyanese must have it. We will have a different Guyana. I thank you all so much. I appreciate your time. And I'll be streaming live in the morning. Join me, because I want to show you in Linden what you're going out to vote for. That'll be interesting. Do well.